DC is in a really, really weird place right now, but also a really, really cool place. A place where very soon we will be seeing two completely different Batmans on the big screen at the same time. Well, probably the same time, we don't actually know for sure. Recently, James Gunn announced the beginning of Chapter 1 of his brand new DCU, and in it, he announced two very interested Batman-related projects. The first of which was The Batman Part 2 with an October 3rd, 2025 release date, which honestly is really, really soon, like way sooner than I expected. But something else that I didn't expect, the first Batman film of the mainline Earth Prime DCU, Batman the Brave and the Bold, which obviously shares the same name with the cartoon series and the comic run, which gives me a lot of hope for this version of Batman, but I'm also just hopeful in general. I'm hopeful that this DC slate works for James Gunn, and I'm really, really hopeful that DC can work with two Batmans that are so different. And that's what I want to talk about today, all of these different opportunities that DC now has with these two Batmans that will be showing the complexity of this character from two very different lights, hopefully around the same time. But first, before we get into everything Batman, go ahead and go down to the comments and tell me which movie you're more excited for, The Batman Part 2 or The Brave and the Bold. Personally, I think I'm more excited for Batman Part 2, but they're both very different projects that I'm excited for different reasons, so I'd be interested to see what you guys have to say in the comments below. I'm going to discuss both of the movies separately, but I'm going to put time codes as well so you can skip to whichever movie interests you more and you can watch that part first. So let's get started with The Batman Part 2. Releasing in October of 2025, we'll finally be getting the sequel to Matt Reeves' first film in this new crime saga. And honestly, this is probably the DC film with the most potential right now, especially after the ending of that first film. The Batman is probably the best superhero movie to come out of the 2020s so far, and it's not especially close really. There's just so much character in the movie with such a beautiful story and such an obvious love for the Batman. And that ending, man, that ending, it just gives me chills every time I watch it. There's just so many directions that you can take this version of the character now, especially with such a talented actor like Robert Pattinson involved. The opportunities are seemingly endless, and I just want to talk about a few things that I want to see in this sequel. I'm also going to be going off of the assumption that we're only getting 3 Robert Pattinson Batman movies. I mean, I guess there is that possibility that they do 4, maybe 5, but I'm going to guess they want to end it on a trilogy, and that trilogy, as much as I don't want it to, will probably end with the Joker. Which, I mean, that's fine, I guess. I really want the Court of Owls to be the conclusion, so I don't want them in the second movie, but they're probably going to do the Joker, so I don't know. I'm conflicted. I'd say best case scenario is we get this movie, then a third with the Court, and then a fourth with the Joker, but that seems kind of unrealistic. So I know the comments will be filled with people saying that it should be the Court, and I do agree with you, but this is just my personal pitch. I want the movie to start probably 6 months after the first, maybe a year at most. I just want it to be where most of the city is recovering, but some of it is still underwater, which is where we'd be introduced to the first villain of the movie, Killer Croc. I know a lot of people want this Batman to go to a more fantastical direction with characters like Clayface or Man-Bat, and while I wanted that at one point, especially right after the movie, I kind of think they should probably keep this one a little more grounded, and Killer Croc is probably the most grounded out of those fantastical characters. And honestly, let's just leave the fantasy to the Brave and the Bold movie. For our main villain in this movie, I really want the Scarecrow. I know the shoo-ins are pretty much Mr. Freeze or Hush, and while both of those would probably be great, and it would be nice to finally get a good live-action Mr. Freeze.
What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age!
I think Scarecrow just fits better. 1, it comes out in October. Like, come on, it just makes sense. But 2, the last movie showed Bruce that he doesn't need to be vengeance anymore. He can be Batman. He doesn't need to be fear. So it makes sense to me, at least, for in this to make him pay for using fear. To use the fear against him now. You know, Batman has to be tested on his morals occasionally, but that's what makes him such a great character is he doesn't cross that line. And I think Scarecrow just makes the best choice for this movie. I know we've already had Scarecrow show up in the Nolan trilogy, and a lot of people don't want repeat Batman villains, but he wasn't really a full-on Scarecrow there, and I feel like Matt Reeves could really put together a compelling and hopefully terrifying version of Scarecrow. I mean, with us getting the Brave and the Bold probably soon after this movie, I'll talk more about the release date I think it's gonna get later on, but with it coming and it 100% being PG-13, I think why not let the Batman Part 2 be rated R? You know, it would really allow them to enhance Scarecrow and give him one of the best theatrical showings for a Batman villain. Like, Scarecrow is so cool, and I feel like he's really underrated, probably being like a C, B tier Batman villain at best. If you don't believe me on how cool he is, go play the Arkham games, or even better in my opinion, read Arkham Asylum, A Serious House on Serious Earth by Grant Morrison and illustrated by Dave McKean. Scarecrow is not really the main focus of that book, but he is really good there. And it's also just a really great read if you're a Batman fan with some seriously amazing art. It's a beautiful book. One more important thing that I think is 100% necessary to really bring Matt Reeves' Batman to the next level is Bruce Wayne. We really need to see Robert Pattinson at least on the road to really becoming Bruce Wayne in this movie. I mean, I'm sure Robert Pattinson would pull it off, and it just makes sense for the development of his character. And I just think the best way to do this would be through A, give Alfred a bit more screen time in this one, and B, much more importantly in my opinion, give us Robin. After the DC slate announcement, a lot of people lost hope and are now under the impression that Robert Pattinson Batman will not be accompanied by a Robin ever. But I disagree. James Gunn is using specifically Damian Wayne Robin, and we'll talk about all the cool stuff about that later in the video, but I don't think we'll be seeing any flashbacks to past Robins in that movie, so I think why not let Matt Reeves use my personal favorite Robin, Dick Grayson. I really think Dick's character will add so much life to these Batman movies, and Robert Pattinson's Batman is the perfect Batman who really needs a Robin, especially a Dick Grayson Robin in his life. I also wanted Dick Grayson in the Batman Brave and the Bold movie, but as Nightwing, not Robin. I think that's way less confusing than having two Dick Grayson Robins. It would probably work, but I don't know for sure. In this movie, Dick Grayson should probably be around 17 or 18 years old. I know a lot of people want to see him younger, and I would too, but since we're getting Damian Wayne, who will 100% be like 12 years old max, it'll be way less confusing and probably more compelling to give an older Dick Grayson Robin in the Elseworlds and a younger Damian Wayne Robin on Earth Prime. But that's just my thoughts on the Batman Part 2. I'm honestly so excited for this movie. It might be one of my most anticipated upcoming films ever. So tell me in the comments below what you think of my ideas for the Batman Part 2, and let me know some of your guys' ideas. But let's finally talk about the Brave and the Bold, because I have a lot of thoughts. So James Gunn really went and did it. He announced DCU's Batman with an already in the works Batman the Brave and the Bold. I love that title, honestly. Hopefully it's giving us some hints on what this Batman will be like, because Brave and the Bold Batman is peak Batman in my opinion. I love Brave and the Bold Batman. I'd also really love if we got like a Brave and the Bold inspired suit, maybe with some blue highlights or something. I don't know, it would be cool, but I don't see it happening. Second thing that I'm really excited about is I love that James Gunn specifically mentioned the Grant Morrison Batman run as his inspiration for this movie. Morrison's run of Batman is really good, and if you haven't read it, I'd 100% recommend it. Third, really cool thing is the fact we're getting Damian Wayne as Robin. I mean, the fact we're getting Robin in general is really cool. It's been 26 years since we've seen Robin on the big screen, so just getting him at all is great and honestly a miracle at this point. And with it being Damian Wayne, there's just so many opportunities we have here. We could get the League of Assassins, we could get the Court of Owls in this movie. There's just so many ways for James Gunn and whoever directs this movie to take the new Batman, and that just makes me automatically super excited for it. Gunn also called this the start of DCU's Bat family, so I'm gonna call it now. We're gonna see Bruce, obviously, we're gonna see Damian, we're gonna get Alfred, and then I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say we'll see Nightwing. Tim Drake will be mentioned by name but not shown, and they will have an Ace the Bat Hound in this movie. Might be a little out there, but I think we're gonna be getting a fully assembled Bat family pretty quick in this universe, especially if we're getting a Brave and the Bold Batman. He really needs a Bat family to support him. Let's also talk about how old Batman will be, because I see this being a little controversial. With Damian, I'm automatically saying he'll be 10, maybe 11 at most. Bruce, probably 25 when he started being Batman. We're probably talking late 30s at the youngest, early 40s. So Ben Affleck, Batman age, but hopefully without the jadedness and hopefully with a bit more experience and Batman-like. I also don't think we need a Bruce Wayne persona in this movie. Just give us the real Bruce learning to be a father to the real Damian, and I think a lot of people will be happy with that. And speaking of Damian, hopefully, I really hope they base him off the comics and they give him some good justice here and don't base him off of the animated movies, you know, the not so good ones from like 10 years ago. Now on to the villains for this movie. I've already mentioned that the Court of Owls or like the League of Assassins could be here. I think with the League of Assassins, we could also see Deathstroke, but I don't really think that's what we're going to get here. I think we might see one of them, but I also think some way or another, there's going to be quite a few of Batman's rogues showing up in this movie. Even if Gunn is not directing or anything, he'll be super heavily involved because this is the beginning of Batman and his DCU. And he's really good at introducing a bunch of characters and making it work without giving them a ton of introduction. I mean, cite the Suicide Squad or Guardians of the Galaxy for proof. My kind of wish list for villains in this movie is let them do the Court of Owls, maybe. I don't really know for sure who the main villain should be. But I also want to see a Clayface. I would also love a Professor Pig, Two-Face, and a Poison Ivy Ivy would be really cool. I also think Talia al Ghul might play a really big part in this movie. Even if she isn't my favorite character, it's pretty inevitable that she'll be here. Next thing I want to talk about is the release date, and I honestly think I've got a pretty good idea on when we'll see this movie. During the Chapter 1 announcement, they said that Superman Legacy will be the first starting off film, and it will be coming out in July of 2025. They announced 4 other movies to go along with that. I think we'll probably be seeing The Authority in 2026, the next year, along with a few of the shows. I think we'll see Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, 100% in 2027. I don't know why I'm so set on that, but I just feel like it's going to be 2027. I think along with Swamp Thing probably coming out late that year or early 2028, and then we'll probably be getting the Batman Brave and the Bold film later in 2028, just because they probably want to space out the heavy hitters like Superman, Supergirl, and Batman just a little bit to help the DC starting out. Also, that way it won't release right after Batman Part 2, and we can have the 2 different but really cool Batmans in the theaters at the same time without them really overlapping each other or hurting the other film's performance. I think that's pretty much all I really have to say about Brave and the Bold. We don't really know much about it. I'm just honestly so excited to see what they're going to do with this movie. I'm hoping for the best. I really do believe in James Gunn. Maybe it's hopeful optimism, and maybe I shouldn't be as excited as I am. DC's track record isn't great, but if they're good at anything, it's giving us Batman movies. I mean, they've shown that time and time again. They can give us a good Batman movie when they want to. I'm honestly so excited for just the prospect of 2 Batmans at all. I think it's going to be great, hopefully. And hopefully you guys are excited about it too. But yeah, I think that's about it. So bye.